Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting. This is our meeting postponed from Tuesday the 12th. Today is the 14th. First thing on the agenda, calling to order. So we're calling the meeting to order at 6:09, I guess.
May I move to add an item to the agenda? Two items, actually. One is a discussion of the planning and zoning proposed appointments. And the other is to have a discussion of the status of the incubator property review.
Well, I haven't prepared either of those. I haven't interviewed the planning and zoning gentleman, so
Okay.
what do you think, Dwayne? You want to add it, or you want
No, I
to
would like to wait.
table it as well? Okay.
But we meet again, what, 2 weeks? So, 2 weeks.
I think officially next, no, 2 weeks.
27th?
But we can meet again if we have to. I mean, we can call a special meeting during one of the Board of Finance meetings, which is now every Tuesday. Or, beforehand, and then we can have discussion.
That works, thank you.
Okay, audience of citizens. So please state your name for the record, and it's not really a question and answer period, but we'd love to hear from you, so.
Who's up first?
Who's Terry Watson?
Allison Sloan, Deep River.
Tony Bowler.
Jerry Roberts.
Nicholas Olson.
Thank you, guys. Anyone want to add anything?
I was going to bring up, if you have any follow-up on the incubator properties, some of them for sale. I think it's important to maybe try to get some direction on that. It seems like we're under the gun financially every other week, and every other department wants new things, and I think it's important that we follow through and look at selling those properties. Not only to raise capital, but to also put those pieces of land back on the tax roll. And then my other thing that I wanted to bring up was, last time I was here, I asked also about, road improvements and stuff for the year. I haven't heard anything, but, a couple questions are, what are our budgets? What do we have to work with for improvements with capital? And if there's been any progress made in that department.
Okay. Anyone else? So I only pull one, one audience of citizens tonight because I thought this was going to be a special meeting. Excuse me, because we changed the date. Hi. So if anybody has any other comments, you won't have another opportunity. So, okay. So the third thing on the agenda, resolution to authorize Town of Deep River to enter into with and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Homeland Security in regards to application for an emergency management performance grant. So because we have new elected officials, we have to file a new resolution so that we can apply for the $5,000 grant awarded annually. And that would help us purchase some products, items for our emergency management department. So I have a resolution here, and I will read it into the record. It's by our town clerk. I, Amy Winchell, Town of Deep River, do hereby certify the following is a true and correct copy of a resolution adopted by the Board of Selectmen. Resolved that the Board of Selectmen may enter into and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, any and all documents which it deems necessary or appropriate, and further resolve that I, as the Selectman, is authorized to sign. So basically, it just says Board of Selectmen and all those other things.
Do we need a motion?
I need a motion to
Okay.
get
I'll
that
make-
filed with the town clerk.
I'll make a motion for Selectmen to sign the grant paper for the Homeland Security as it's been done in the past.
Yes,
So we
I'll
can go after
second the
grants.
motion.
yes, we have gotten that grant at least 3 times that I've seen. I don't think we did it last year. I couldn't find one dated last year, but. And that's a reimbursable grant, so we can spend up and then we get reimbursed. Excuse me. As the day goes on, I lose my voice, I've noticed.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now, number 4, discussion on potential drainage issue on a property that we have in town. We just want to speak generally to this. We don't really have details of any numbers yet. There's some investigation going on. There's been a lot of flooding in this particular home and on the property. And so there's a question of the drainage, pipe drainage situation there. So our building department is investigating. They're going to get a camera and put it in the catch basin and try to figure out what's going on there. So there's a potential that we will have to expend some money to rectify the situation. So just sort of bringing it to everyone's attention. At this time, we don't have any further information, don't have any dollar signs or, amounts, but just so
Is
people
the
are
flooding
aware.
under control now?
I believe they're still pumping. The source of the water seems to be not stopping at this point with all the rain. So that and I know
It's
Dwayne
subsided
has
some.
been on site
There's
as
still
well.
pumps going. It's under control right now. But with rain coming tonight, tomorrow, I don't think we're supposed to get a lot, but I don't know. It's under control for right now.
Yeah. So our building official just instructed me to make you both aware, make the public aware, and this might be something that we'll have to assign some money to at some point. So no motion to move on it. No action taken at this point. So. Okay, so the town meeting, we were trying to set it up for March 25th, but now we've moved it to April 1st.
It's a challenging day.
The legal notice has gone out. Oh, that's true. The town meeting, people might be joking with us that they agree with us or something. But our hope is to bring before the town the accounting software yearly fee of $21,000, excuse me. Any potential ARPA expenditures, if we can get what our board decides past the Board of Finance, which is where it hung up last time, and then to the town meeting. Approve the interlocal agreement for the hazardous waste collection, and that is through RiverCog, and that is an agreement we've entered into multiple years. It is now up for renewal, but basically it allows us to have those hazardous waste collection sites around the communities that participate in RiverCog, which is 16. Well, there's 17, but one of the towns has opted out of the hazardous waste collection.
Is that a yearly, or is it a couple-year
I
contract?
think it's 2 or 3 year agreement, but again, it just happens to be up. We've changed some of the language because there used to be a hazardous waste facility over in Essex, I believe, right. So that is now closed, and we're kind of on this mobile. I think for the last few years it's been sort of a mobile collection sites. So they move it around to all the towns to make it very convenient for each of the towns to have something close by at least one time a year.
Is there a cost to this?
There is a cost to this, yes.
I'm curious as to what is it, and has it changed at all, or directionally, where's it going?
They asked for an increase this year, like all, and I don't have that number. I'm sorry. I gave it to Anne Marie, and it is in the budget paperwork, but I didn't pull it out tonight. I'm sorry.
Is this an agreement? So Dwayne and I will get to see the agreement before we...
Yes, and I
Okay.
just Googled, I searched my email to print it quickly, and so I will send it to you.
Thank you.
There's a smaller subgroup of the RiverCog that reviewed it all, and they have a lawyer, of course, review it. And but because it's a town agreement, the town body has to vote on, legislative body, which is town employee, town residents. I do think it's a good agreement,
good.
though. And we are hosting this year in August. We'll be hosting one at our highway garage. We're going to host because they were looking for sites. And they come in, they bring all the trucks and everything. They just set up and leave, by the end of the day. I think it's like 10 to 2 or something like that. Okay, and then we do have to approve the interlocal agreement for the animal control officer. The former Board of Selectmen entered into this agreement with Chester and Essex, and we feel it's a very favorable agreement to all involved. Our animal control officer is wonderful. And we had trouble always staffing that because it was part-time, as catch can, and we couldn't really keep anyone there, full-time. Or of course, it wasn't a full-time thing, so people would leave to get something full-time. So this is a good, I think, a good agreement. We just have to have it, hopefully the townspeople feel the same way, especially after her performance, when we had to seize the dogs and that big police activity we just had.
And all the money split 3 ways, correct?
The money is all split 3 ways, so she's an Essex employee officially, but we all split, all the 3 towns split it equally, yep. So I will send you that, and then there are 2 amendments as well for the fees collected. All right, so I'd like to skip over 6 right now and go to the solar, if you want. I think solar might be, maybe they're both equally as conversational, I'm not sure. You know,
Oh, fine.
I'm fine with that.
okay. So the solar array, so they're looking to start installation late April or April to May. They are now asking for a waiver of building department, building permits, which adds up to about $20,000.
Who specifically is asking?
The solar,
Vergy.
The company?
yeah, Verigy.
Vergy.
So I didn't feel comfortable making that decision. I did talk to the former first selectman, as did you, and he said that they had waived the building fees, building permit fees. I cannot find that in the contract. I can't find it in old Board of Selectmen minutes, town meeting minutes, so I have no way to verify that. So I think we have to either investigate further, or I printed out the contract. You guys could look at it, and maybe I'm missing something. I did show it to our assessor as well, and nothing jumped out at her either. But I was told it's in the contract that they got waived of the fees, so.
See, I don't remember, like I told you, I don't remember negotiating that. I negotiated the money that we were gonna be bringing in. I know sometimes it's.
The table
it's
is here on
standard practice that
what's
it
coming
happens,
in
but
too.
Maybe it
just to
was
remind
negotiated
the public.
with
I'm
Angus,
happy
but
to read it if you want carefully.
Oh, yeah, no, you can have the whole thing. There's just a table that tells what the town is gonna get.
right here,
Oh, okay.
$43,000 a year.
And
$43,000, $1 for 20 years.
we thought there'd be a $20,000 fee up front.
Yeah, $43,000, yeah, $43,001 every year, which is estimated at $35.83 a month. And it's a lease for 20 years, and here's the payment schedule, so.
With a one-time permitting fee.
Yes, it would be a
Which is
one-time
being
permitting fee.
contested.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
Our building official would like us to consider not waiving it. So
The only fees that I know that I was part of was when we signed that contract. I was of the understanding you start paying because you're taking our property. But they don't pay until they're up
up and running,
and
right.
running.
Yeah,
is there
I get that
a
gist.
possibility that they back out if we insist on the permit fee,
I
permitting fee?
back and forth with emails. He's willing to have a conference call, so we could do something like that if we want to have a special meeting. Just get him on the phone, talk him through. He said their costs have gone up substantially since they entered into the contract, but they're willing to keep everything the same for us to waive. So I don't have the background knowledge to know if he's being forthright or if he's just kind of throwing that around, so we say, oh, okay, you know, we don't want him to pull out or something.
So we want to get a little more information before we come to a final decision.
Well, I really wanted to, pick both of your brains and see, because you have the knowledge, you were on there, but you don't recall it.
I was not part of waiving any of those fees.
Okay,
I was, like I said, I was involved in that graph right there, negotiating the $43,000 a year.
I was part of all those meetings and that was not talked about.
It's probably on video, you can just
Yeah.
look at the meetings.
well, I didn't find it in any of the meeting minutes. I did research back. But that's a great idea. Perhaps it just was missed in the meeting minutes, so I will do that.
I mean, I don't want to waive anything, but I also don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
And like I said to you last night, if worse comes to worse, we'll split it in half. I don't want to do that, but half is better than nothing.
Yeah. So the building permit fees right now are about $20,000, so.
It's just, we're going into a real tough budget year. It would be fabulous
to
to have
get
more.
that
I
money.
understand your point on the relationship, and you're going into this, and you want a good feeling. So we'll look at the videos and to see what else is there, and
See
then
if I
have
can
further
find
discussion.
it anymore, right. And then if you want to take the contract, I can print you a copy
Yeah, I'd like to
too.
get one, I'll skim through it again, but. Now Jane has no recollection of anything?
She doesn't. Her recollection was something like, she thought if we got fees up front, then the monthly fee would have been less. She remembered something like that, where we waived the fees up front to get more monthly, or something like that. But she has
I know when
nothing
they
in
first
writing,
came-
and she doesn't even have a copy of the contract. So,
I know when they first came to us, they only wanted to pay us 740, 750,000. That was the original amount. And I told Angus no, and that's why we were able to get the 43 to bring it up to 840 or 860,000, whatever it is, over 20 years.
okay, so should I invite him to a conference call, and then if you guys can make yourselves available or something?
Yeah.
Then we could all pick his brain, because it took me quite a few emails, and the only way I got his contact information is when he filed for the building permit. I looked through the contracts, and their company, because it's kind of maybe a leasing agent or something, but I could trace it up to West Hartford to an address, but there was no phone number. So I sent a few emails just to this, and finally, when Dick Layton said, oh, I got a building permit application, like, what's going on? And I said, do you have a name? Do you have a number? So it would be nice to sort of, with us now, to bring him in to have a better dialogue with him. So if you guys are willing to do that, I'll set that up.
Absolutely.
I would like to get that going sooner than later, because as soon as we can resolve it, as soon as they can get going, as soon as we can start collecting money from them.
Exactly.
And the sooner we can
exactly.
get the fencing up and move on with everything with Public Works. It's
Okay.
frustrating, I'm sure, to have all this lack of documentation, but you're powering through it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Set up. Okay, that would be good. Well, what I find is that all the departments didn't know, like this one, like the building department, he didn't have anything. The assessor didn't have that contract. Jane saw the contract, she doesn't have a signed copy, so I brought it over to her.
And you reached out to Angus, who said it was a verbal, or you weren't?
I've reached out to Angus. Dwayne said he just spoke to
I
Angus
talked to him.
today. Angus said the same, like, I thought we waived those, like, look through the contract.
He
look
says
through
it's in the
notes.
contract,
So,
so we have to
We'll
go through
find
the
out.
contract with fine tooth comb.
All right.
you guys are maybe better at reading contracts than I didn't see it, so if you find it, great. All right, so kind of, I'll table that, any motion on that, except that I'll set up a conference call, and we'll all get on the same page with that. Okay, I added Region 4 schools, general discussion, because a citizen, a resident had asked if we could talk more about that. We don't really have much control over Region 4, which is unfortunate to say, how they spend their money, but there is a referendum on March 26th to vote on the $5.8 million appropriation for mold remediation, partial mold remediation, or all mold remediation, but partial renovation of the school. There is also, the budget referendum's gonna come up for other things, so keep your eye on the news, and please come out, your voice matters, Right now, Region 4 is putting in for a $1.3 million increase over last year for their budget. Has nothing to do with mold, that is just strictly their budget request. So it's really up for the townspeople to come out and make,
Isn't that public hearing for their budget on April 1st, and you've already scheduled, or you're planning to schedule a town meeting here also?
Oh, I don't know, let's check it.
I heard there was something on April 1st, but our town meeting was gonna be at 6 o'clock. And if we keep it to the 3 items, accounting software and the 2 agreements, I don't think it would prompt much discussion, where then people could go to the meeting. If the meeting's at 7, we're okay. Are you looking up
I was
Board of
gonna
Ed?
look up Board of Ed to see what they had to say here.
Yeah, okay.
But I'll do that while we're talking, it's okay.
Okay, well, if that's the case, we don't certainly want to schedule anything that would not allow people to get out to the Board of Ed and really learn, which is why we didn't have our meeting on Tuesday, so people could go up to that public hearing.
All right, legal notice, it's 7 o'clock is a public meeting at Valley Regional on the budget.
So ours will be at 6, and again, if we don't, we'll keep the ARPA discussion off, because that probably will draw more towns folks and then more discussion, and that way people can get out to go to the meeting. Okay, I have nothing else. Region 4-wise, the region, Deep River Elementary School, their last budget workshop is the 21st, next Thursday, if anyone wants to go. I believe that's the 21st.
Yes.
So,
Carol, there'd been some discussion at the last meeting from the superintendent about next steps on regionalization and looking to town leadership to move that forward. Is anything planned on that between Chester, Essex, and Deep River, or are we waiting till after the referendum?
well, I've met twice with the other selectmen, and they definitely want to move it forward, but I think everybody seems to say, let's get through this John Winthrop mess first. Let's see what's going to happen. So I think people are willing to have the discussion, and I know the residents, public is willing to have the discussion. I don't know, we don't know what direction that'll end up taking, but definitely people are ready to come to the table and talk about it, which is good.
It's time.
Yeah, it's time to talk, right? All right, so the ARPA funds allocation. So last time we met as a board, we had these spreadsheets we came up with all the projects, and we rated them 1 through 5, except Dwayne went up to 7. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so we came up with a great plan. We went to the Board of Finance, and they did not accept our recommendation. So we cannot move it to the town meeting without the Board of Finance's approval. So I thought we should talk again, kind of come up with our next plan, go back. Some of their feedback, I know, was not to help individual businesses, was a feedback that we heard. And of course, we didn't agree with that, but what do you think we should do to tweak our numbers around? Last time we all agreed on the downtown Deep River Master Plan, which included quite a few little components like ADA compliance, traffic, pedestrian access studies, small business study, parking study, plan for future development. So that one we all agreed to move forward. Then we had the Heritage and Tourism Corridor marketing campaign. Again, that has a lot of different pieces, so we could pick different pieces of that. We were going to do $35,000 for that, $100,000 for the one I mentioned previous, sorry. Then all of us agreed to put money into handicap ramp for the Nest and the Pandemonium Project, Animal Center, Pathways, Museum signage. Public art was one, and then the police vehicle, which we were thinking if we needed to renovate the locker room, that maybe would go there. That was $11,000. So those were our 6 things that we were moving forward. So what do you guys think? We were all there together. Like, what was your feedback? I mean,
That came very quickly at the end of a long meeting, and it was just no. So I circled back and spoke with 2 or 3 of the Board of Finance members just to get a deeper sense of where were they on the no, or how they got to the no. And as you said, Carol, there was a strong feeling that it shouldn't go to an individual organization. They wanted to see something with more broad benefit to the public. And I know that both of these entities, which is why we voted to begin with them, there was a public element to that, we felt. And one person felt that there was planning and zoning, sounds like our second selectman, it's going to be all planning, we want to see something of substance. There was a little pushback on that one. Not any pushback on the tourism one, but some pushback on the public art. So what I'd like us to just spend a minute or two talking about is with the work we're doing, the previous administration had said we're going to do 50% capital, 25% social services, 25% economic development. Do we think with the situation budget-wise we're looking at, and particularly with the school and everything else that may be coming up, should we be rethinking the 25% for economic development, or are we comfortable leaving it there?
Well, my next question would be, okay, if we do that, where do we put that money?
Well, I'm almost, if we were to do that,
You understand my question?
I do, and the
Because we
thing
had a list this long last night
on
capital.
on capital,
So what do we pick?
you know,
So we're back to the same,
but then the difference on that would be it'd be capital. It's directionally, it's capital, and you know, I'm thinking how the citizens are going to feel, and maybe I'm projecting too much. But when they see the budget, they're already feeling the pinch of what's coming with the schools. They're going to want to see something of substance, so to speak, as opposed to nice to have. So I throw that out there. I have been personally wrestling with this, if it's better to go with capital. I remain very comfortable with the tourism and the planning and zoning. And we maybe even could adjust to some of the planning and zoning numbers. But I have felt that we've underinvested in planning and zoning for so long that and we would get long-term benefit coming out of that. I'm less comfortable with the balance.
so saying, you know, following up on what you just said, well, there's 135,000 and we have 202.
202, I
So
think.
that leaves 65,000, 70,000, give or take.
Yep,
That's not much to go into capital.
yeah.
When we were presented a $1.8 million capital expenditures last night, is $70,000 going to make a difference? Just a question.
Well, but then,
Right, I mean-
off
But
of,
just directional.
off of what you said, people want to see something.
Right.
You know, these kind of, I mean, I think the tourism piece, we might be able to show them something quickly. You know, the planning, the long-range planning, while we need it, maybe that is something where we don't put that many eggs in that basket because it's a long-range thing. People aren't going to see that either. I mean, if you think they want to see something. I still want to support it, but I agree, even 202 isn't a lot if we, knowing what we need. We had our budget workshop last night, so.
I support the planning and zoning, the money. But again, I look deeper into it. We spent $100,000 there, and they come up with some ideas that we want to do something for the town. Where are we going to get the money? That's you know, a question that I have right now where, I mean, we're already behind the 8 ball big time. We saw it last night. I mean, which is, you know, it's good to have that information, but it's now the right time to have it.
Well, I think then the idea would be, we'd be, you know, shovel ready, you know, if the federal monies come out or something like that. If
That's a
there's a
good
grant opportunity, you're like, oh, we've got our plan on the shelf, you know. But it is a long-range idea, so. It was really hard to read, and I know I talked to a few of the members too, and, you know, some of them are just so adamant against no on one thing that I don't even know if they listened to the rest of what we presented.
No.
They were
That
so
was-
quick
it
to
was-
say no, and then, you know.
It was a long meeting, and it was, yeah.
And so it was frustrating because we had spent so much time painstakingly going through all this stuff.
And that night, and that's why I asked to move the top 3 that we had, and you changed your mind on it.
I hesitated on the public art after
Yeah.
listening. That was the one that blocked me. I was fine with the heritage tourism, very comfortable with planning and zoning. Do you think it would behoove us to spend a little more time with detail with the finance team and have it at the beginning of a meeting and really have them get their thoughts out in a public forum with us? Would they have greater understanding of this?
Well, some of the people I spoke to, residents who came in, they were upset that this happened because they had been at the presentations. And they really do feel like, they know we're in a capital crunch, but they also think we pushed off capital expenditures for so long that this money really should be a little more, used to do a little more for the town than just pay for our capital needs. So I really, I like I thought the economic development pieces here were the tourism thing, the planning and zoning, and the public art. To me, those kind of matched. Because the public art could be what our EDC chair was talking about with the banners around the town. I mean, that is all public art. So it really ties so much together. And then the planning and zoning piece, whatever they come up with, maybe that includes beautifying the downtown, which again, that might, could tie in. They all tie in together.
So the big stumbling blocks to our colleagues on the Board of Finance were investments in individual organizations.
Right.
That might be worth a fuller discussion with them. I mean, we can have, if we have that discussion, we can at least move a few of the others forward if we get consensus with them on that. So there is some movement.
Yeah, and I appreciated when we had the resident come in, Allison, who's here, but, speaking about the importance of nonprofits, and the Nest is in that same boat, and they, they do so much for the community. It would be nice to be able to support them, even if we can't give them the full 25 they were asking for, to give them something, to, and I know we agreed on this, so I'm
17.5. We agreed
preaching
on
to the
it.
choir
No,
here.
yeah.
We all,
We have our chairman of the planning and zoning, it looks like he's antsy to say something.
are you chopping?
I was, so, with planning and zoning, there's a short-term list and a long-term list, and the intent is to work with these guys also. So, that's why we're all here. So, it's not like the times of old where we're gonna go, you know what, it's just planning and zoning, we're gonna bury ourselves here. The intent is to sit with everybody and go through this. But there's short-term plan and long-term plan, so it's not just way out, it's short, really close stuff. And since this is not planning and zoning stuff, I know you need a cop car, there's huge grant money right now. So you get $7,500 for an electric car, plus they will give you the install of the charging stations. So if you need a cop car, electric car is probably the way to go, because 7,500 feds and another 2,500 for state. And our guys don't go on the highway, so, and Deep River's not that big. So a Nissan Leaf would be great.
Don't tell the cops.
Can we touch on a cop car real quick? But the price of the electric cop cars,
A lot of
a
money.
lot more than a gas-powered one.
They have, cars, like a whole new cop car Explorer like we have is going for like $65,000. So if we have 72,000, that would be great. And, I was talking with Katie the other day about the cop car. I was up at the town garage. We have an abundance of old vehicles just sitting there. And then we have our cop cars that are in service. And I really feel that we should take 3 cars out back, the old dump truck that's sitting there. There's 4 vehicles sitting there with they're at the end of the road. Whether we get $1,000, $500, $2,000, it's still something. And I think the cop cars that are in service, we can get $15,000, $20,000 for. And I think with that extra $70,000, we could put 2 brand new cop cars, identically matching, all logoed matching. I think we're being dollar shy and penny foolish putting those decals on the cop cars. I think we should put them on the cop cars, but I think we should show the people at Deep River 2 brand new cop cars identically matched. And I think with that little bit of money and the resale value of what we have, you could get 2 new cop cars.
Those cars have been on the auction site for quite a while, the ones that are up there.
Those cop cars, this guy that deals with cop cars, they'll just come down and write you a check. So they'll give you trade-in values. So if we lined up our cruisers, we lined up our junk, whatever you want to call it, they will come down and say X, Y, Z, and then we can apply that to doing 2 new cars.
I'll reach out to you for that.
Yeah, I'd like to be part of that.
Our online auction hasn't produced anything yet.
And even if they say, hey, they are junk, there is no trade-in, you can bring them on down to Calamari's and get $500, so.
So hybrid also, you can still get the credit for electric and the install of the charging stations, and you get the cop cars.
Yeah, I think we should get some new cop cars. I think it's time to be independent and be able to buy our own cars.
Okay, well, getting back on ARPA, so what do you guys think our strategy should be? To move a few things forward that we know everybody was I mean, they did push back about the nest and the pandemonium.
I'm 100% comfortable moving the tourism piece and planning and zoning. I will say this, I think we spoke about 35,000 for the tourism piece. Jerry has said to us multiple times, and I was saying, Jerry, please, don't say it. He was saying he can do a lot with less. I don't know if we would consider taking that to 25. Jerry wants to talk.
Jerry wants to talk. That does not surprise me, Jerry loves to talk.
So potentially, we're not talking about April 1st going back before the town with these things, are we, or are we?
I don't think now, if we know there's a Board of Ed meeting, because I think this generates a lot of
I just
discussion.
want to repeat what I've repeated before. I don't want to go forward to the town with the tourism thing until I've sat down with you three, not at the town, just sat down and gone over this menu, because as I've said many times, I want to make sure that you understand what it is. I don't want the town to think it's TV advertising. I know it's not some miracle marketing campaign for the town. It's what I've always described it. So what I'd like to do is sit down with you guys and say, where should we get the most bang for the buck? Whether it's $35,000 or whether it's $15,000, because it was always designed as a menu. So I don't want to go blindly into the town and sell this whole package until I've sat with you guys, respectfully.
Okay. All right, we'll touch base then, because maybe when we get together and talk to the solar gentleman.
Okay, then I want to open up one more subject. And it's because it's not ARPA, but the town is talking about budget right now, right? When does the budget get wrapped up, do you know?
May.
First week of May.
Sorry?
First week of May.
We have a town meeting, and then we vote.
I would like to, and it's not a crisis right now, but I'd like to open up a conversation with you folks. Or maybe a briefing, maybe you come in about the Historical Society. There's this pervasive attitude in the town that the Historical Society is being supported by the town. And it's not. We had to stop doing rentals there because we were losing money. We were losing money doing rentals. So we had to stop doing rentals, which has upset people. But people think, how could we do that? The town's paying for everything. I would like to have you guys fully briefed on the Historical Society, the state that it's at right now, the fact that what we're providing for the town, and I'd just like to open up that conversation at some point.
Okay.
But the town somehow thinks that we're just getting money from the town, so how could we stop doing rentals for parties? You know, those kinds of things. I just think that everybody should, at least you folks should know the state of the Historical Society.
Well, the town should probably know. I mean, there should be something in the paper or the.
Oh, yeah.
The bi-monthly or
Right.
yearly.
The weekly
thing.
email's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely in there. You're correct.
In there.
Tons of
That's
people
one
like
way
it.
we-
I'm,
The roof.
The first round with the ARPA money, that's why we gave money to the roof there, because it's our history of our community.
Right.
But
It's
people,
very important.
but the misinformation is there, so people will
yes.
believe it.
And untold secret, a week from tonight, I will become the president of the Historical Society, so I inherit all of this to solve and putting together a team to
It's
solve.
not untold anymore, you just told me.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. It's not, it's, you know, that's if I'm nominated and voted on.
Oh, jeez.
But it's, anyway, I'm more deeply concerned in this now becoming an officer, that the town, that you folks understand that we're not just some big property where everything's easy. The ARPA money helped dramatically saving the roof because the roof. But I'm talking about just keeping the place going, and, you know, everybody thinks we're public property. We don't charge any admission. We serve all school children for free. Anyway, I want to get you guys briefed on that because it kind of ties in with the tourism and with the other things as well. And if I don't get nominated next week, I'll be very happy, actually.
You didn't listen to your mother.
What's that?
You never listened to your mother growing up. You never sit in the front row and you never raise your hand.
Believe me, my wife is like cursing right now. But anyway, I just want you guys to be aware of what's going on because it is the town's historical society, and we've learned recently that people just think that the town is funding us, and therefore, how come we're not letting people do birthday parties and do blah, 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 you know?
We look forward to that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
So back to your question, Carol, I would be comfortable moving forward on the historical tourism piece, either at 25 or 35, whatever we collectively think, and on planning and zoning, and having a fuller discussion on the next three elements with the Board of Finance, if this creates momentum. I'm very solid on those first two.
I think we've kicked the can a long time here, and I'm good with the top three that I presented at the Board of Finance that night, with the $25,000 for the art.
So your
Also.
top three was 1, 2, 3. Well, that is actually my top three as well, because I think they're all connected. I mean, I think,
And again, not that
I had
the
one.
private, the nonprofits aren't important. I mean, we pushed them all forward. It was the Board of Finance that pushed back at us, so.
Right. So we'll do the 1, 2, 3.
I'll make,
Those three.
that's what I would like. I'll make a
Decide
motion.
what our amounts are, though?
I'd say the amounts that we have here,
You had 35 for tourism,
100
100 for planning and
and
zoning.
25.
And 25?
I'm comfortable with 2 out of the three, so if I vote no on this, it's because I'm only comfortable on 2 out of the 3. So, but you've got 2 out of the 3 to move it forward if you want to.
So since Tony's here, 100,000, is that too big of a chunk, since we're kind of really trying to share?
We pushed for 3, so I guess I can settle for 1.
When we looked
I mean, could you settle
Yes.
for less for different components,
No, 'cause like I said, we're trying to bring everybody in on this, so.
Okay.
John, the zoning enforcement officer, we went through this quite a bit, which is why Alan shot for the moon.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that can work.
And do you think the public art piece is something you all can incorporate as well?
I do, because I think,
I mean, that's my thought, is that they are related.
well,
but
that was the point, when you said the top 3, we're all gonna, the plan is to sit down and go over this and iron a lot of this out too. And it is for, like you said, if we have a plan in place, you're better off you're easier to get grant money. So, if you have shovel-ready projects, they're like, here's the money, take it and go. So, and we all have a list a mile long of what they are. So, but we'd like to meet with you guys too, because I'm sure you have stuff that isn't even on our radar.
I think the public art thing will go down a lot better with the public, since the town is giving money for this, I think it's a great thing. The requirement is, it's local artists, not supporting artists from out there somewhere. I mean, there's so many great artists in our community.
You brought that up, I think you're
Yeah,
right.
I think it's, that's my personal thing.
No, yeah, at the last meeting you brought up, that's a good
What does
point.
that leave us with?
About 41. Give or take, I think.
42. Was it 202 and then,
Well, Emery did come back with a slightly higher number, but because stuff wasn't all allocated yet. So I think one of our plans was, and I mentioned this last night at the workshop, maybe just like hearsay, because we didn't have a meeting last night. But Emery and I, who's our finance director, spoke about maybe in June, we come up with a letter that we email out to everyone that got awarded money. And if they haven't decided where it's going exactly, then they have to kind of give it back to us or something, because it needs to be allocated by the end of 2024, and we don't want to lose it. So tell them in June, start spending the money if you haven't, like, we have some projects out there, like the library is working on getting their circulation desk, but they haven't spent the money yet, but it's in the works now, But stuff like that, if somebody hasn't ordered something yet, a little reminder in June, and then come September, if the money's still kicking around,
And you guys will be ready to go right for
I
your study?
just lost the Zoom here. Let me lean over. Oh, it's reconnected.
Actually talked about that on Thursday.
So,
they need signed contracts by the end of this year?
Yes.
Yeah.
so the money has to be committed and signed. So again, and it might be that somebody got awarded 20,000 and only spent 15, and then that's 5 coming back or something, so it doesn't have to be large sums coming back, but it might add up across the board if not everybody spent their money, so. I think it's just this Taylor's on here. Let me make it bigger. We have one person on the Zoom, so. And Taylor, I didn't see you raise a hand or anything, but any questions for the group? In case I missed you during audience of citizens.
So I'll go back and make the motion to move it to the Board of Finance. 35 for tourism,
85, okay.
100 for downtown planning and zoning, and 25 for public art.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
1.
Okay. Okay, so that passed. So we'll move this to the Board of Finance. Now, they don't meet until the 26th or something, I believe. Not next week either, officially. So. Okay, so the next thing is adjournment. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, meeting adjourned at 6:55.